1. Aberration, a departure from what is normal. The sudden storm was an aberration in this region. His quiet demeanor was an aberration for the party. It was a scientific aberration that surprised everyone. 2. Abject, extremely bad or severe. They faced abject poverty with great resilience. His apology was abject, filled with sincere remorse. The house was in an abject state of decay. 3. Abjure, to renounce a belief or claim. He chose to abjure his former political views. She would never abjure her love for classical music. They had to abjure their allegiance to the old regime. 4. Abnegation, the act of renouncing or rejecting something. His life was one of self-abnegation and service. Her abnegation was clear in her daily sacrifices. Monks practice abnegation to attain spiritual purity. 5. Abrogate, to repeal or do away with a law or agreement. The government decided to abrogate the outdated law. They sought to abrogate the unfair corporate policy. He aimed to abrogate the contract he never agreed to. 6. Abscond, to leave hurriedly and secretly. The thief managed to abscond with the stolen jewels. After the scandal, he chose to abscond to another city. She planned to abscond with the secret documents. 7. Abstruse, difficult to understand. The concept was too abstruse for the students. Her lecture on quantum physics was abstruse. The abstruse text was hard to interpret. 8. Accede, to agree to a request or demand. She was reluctant but decided to accede to the plan. They finally acceded to our demands after negotiations. He was asked to accede to the new terms of service. 9. Accost, to approach and speak to someone boldly. He was accosted by a stranger in the park. The journalist accosted the celebrity for an interview. She was accosted by protesters outside the building. 10. Accretion, the process of growth or increase by gradual accumulation. The accretion of dust on the shelf was noticeable. His wealth was the result of slow accretion over years. The accretion of new members boosted the club's morale. 11. Acumen, the ability to make good judgments and quick decisions. Her business acumen was apparent from the start. His political acumen helped him navigate complex issues. She showed great acumen in her career choices. 12. Adamant, refusing to be persuaded or to change one's mind. She was adamant about attending the concert despite the rain. He remained adamant in his decision to stay home. They were adamant that the project must be completed on time. 13. Admonish, to warn or reprimand someone firmly. The teacher admonished the students for their behavior. He was admonished by his boss for being late. She admonished her friend for not following the rules. 14. Adumbrate, to outline or sketch broadly, to foreshadow. The report adumbrated the new policy changes. Her speech adumbrated the challenges ahead. The artist adumbrated the design before starting work. 15. Adverse, preventing success or development. Harmful, the adverse weather conditions delayed the flight. He faced adverse criticism for his controversial views. They struggled through adverse times together. 16. Advocate, a person who publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. She became an advocate for environmental protection. He was a strong advocate of free speech. They hired a lawyer to advocate for their rights. 17. Affluent, having a great deal of money, wealthy. The affluent neighborhood was filled with mansions. She led an affluent lifestyle with lavish parties. His affluent background afforded him many opportunities. 18. Aggrandize, to increase the power, status, or wealth of. He sought to aggrandize his reputation with grand claims. She aggrandized the company's image with her PR skills. They tried to aggrandize their role in the project. 19. Alacrity, brisk and cheerful readiness. She accepted the invitation with alacrity. He responded to the challenge with alacrity. They completed the task with surprising alacrity. 20. Alias, a false or assumed identity. The spy used an alias to avoid detection. She published her book under an alias. He was known by many aliases in the underground scene. 21. Ambivalent. Having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas, she felt ambivalent about the job offer. His ambivalent attitude made decision-making difficult. They were ambivalent about moving to a new city. 22. Amenable. Open and responsive to suggestion, easily persuaded, the manager was amenable to the new proposal. She was amenable to trying new cuisines. His amenable nature made him popular at work. 23. Amorphous. Without a clearly defined shape or form, the artist created an amorphous sculpture. The project remained amorphous without a clear plan. The blob of paint was amorphous on the canvas. 24. Anachronistic. Belonging to a period other than that being portrayed, the old-fashioned dress looked anachronistic at the event. His views on gender roles seemed anachronistic. The presence of a smartphone in the 1800s movie was anachronistic. 25. Anathema. Something or someone that one vehemently dislikes. Violence was anathema to her peaceful nature. The idea of wasting food was anathema to him. Dishonesty was anathema to her strict moral code. 26. Annex. To add or attach as a subordinate part, the country planned to annex the neighboring territory. They decided to annex the garage to the main house. The company announced plans to annex another division. 27. Antediluvian. Extremely old or antiquated, the antediluvian computer could barely function. Her views on technology were positively antediluvian. The artifact was from antediluvian times. 28. Antiseptic. Relating to substances that prevent the growth of disease-causing microorganisms, she applied antiseptic to the wound to prevent infection. The hospital room smelled clean and antiseptic. He used an antiseptic solution to clean the cut. 29. Antithesis. The direct opposite of something, her cheerful nature was the antithesis of his gloominess. The small-town life was the antithesis of her dreams. Their ideas were the antithesis of each other. 30. Apathetic. Showing or feeling no interest, enthusiasm, or concern, he was apathetic about the outcome of the game. Her apathetic attitude frustrated her teammates. They were apathetic towards the new policy changes. 31. Apocryphal. Of doubtful authenticity, although widely circulated as being true, the story of the haunted house was apocryphal. His account of the event seemed apocryphal to many. The apocryphal tales spread quickly through the village. 32. Approbation. Approval or praise. The artist received approbation from critics worldwide. She awaited her parents' approbation for her new job. The project won the approbation of the board. 33. Arbitrary. Based on random choice or personal whim, rather than any reason or system, the decision to cancel the meeting seemed arbitrary. His actions were often arbitrary and unpredictable. They made an arbitrary choice between the two options. 34. Arboreal. Relating to trees, the arboreal monkeys swung gracefully from branch to branch. The park was known for its diverse arboreal habitats. She loved the arboreal scenery of the forest. 35. Arcane. Understood by few, mysterious or secret, the arcane rituals were known only to the priests. His knowledge of arcane languages was impressive. The book was filled with arcane symbols and signs. 36. Archetypal. Very typical of a certain kind of person or thing, she was the archetypal example of a dedicated student. The hero in the story was an archetypal figure of bravery. They lived in an archetypal suburban neighborhood. 37. Arrogate. To claim or seize without justification, he tried to arrogate the credit for the team's success. The king attempted to arrogate more power to himself. She would not let anyone arrogate her ideas. 38. Ascetic. Characterized by severe self-discipline, the monk led an ascetic life of prayer and fasting. She adopted an ascetic lifestyle to focus on her studies. His ascetic habits were surprising to his friends. 39. Aspersion. An attack on the reputation of someone or something, he cast an aspersion on her honesty, causing mistrust. The politician's speech included an aspersion against his rival. They were upset by the aspersions made in the article. 40. Assiduous, showing great care and perseverance, her assiduous efforts earned her top grades. He was known for his assiduous attention to detail. They thanked her for her assiduous work on the project. 41. Atrophy, gradual decline in effectiveness due to underuse or neglect. His muscles began to atrophy after weeks in a cast. The atrophy of the company's profits worried investors. They worked to prevent the cultural atrophy in the community. 42. Bane, a cause of great distress or annoyance. The constant noise was the bane of her existence. His lack of discipline was the bane of his success. Traffic jams were the bane of their daily commute. 43. Bashful, reluctant to draw attention to oneself, shy, the bashful child hid behind his mother's leg. She was too bashful to speak up in the meeting. His bashful smile made him even more endearing. 44. Beguile, to charm or enchant, sometimes in a deceptive way. She used her charm to beguile her way into the party. The magician beguiled the audience with his tricks. He was beguiled by her beautiful singing voice. 45. Bereft, deprived of or lacking something, she felt bereft of hope after the bad news. The widow was bereft of companionship. The land was bereft of vegetation after the drought. 46. Bilk, to cheat or defraud, the con artist bilked them out of their life savings. He bilked the customers with false promises. They discovered he had bilked investors for years. 47. Blandishment, flattering speech or actions designed to persuade. She used blandishment to get her way at the office. His blandishment was effective in charming the crowd. They fell for his blandishment without hesitation. 48. Bombastic, high-sounding but with little meaning, inflated, the politician's speech was bombastic and empty. His bombastic style turned off many listeners. She gave a bombastic talk that lacked substance. 49. Cajole, to persuade with flattery or gentle urging, she tried to cajole her friend into joining the club. He cajoled his parents to let him stay out late. They were cajoled into buying the unnecessary item. 50. Callous, showing or having an insensitive and cruel disregard for others. His callous remarks hurt everyone in the room. She was callous to the homeless man's plight. Their callous actions showed a lack of empathy. 51. Calumny, the making of false and defamatory statements to damage someone's reputation. He was the target of a vicious calumny. The article was filled with lies and calumny. Her career was almost ruined by the calumny. 52. Camaraderie, mutual trust and friendship among people who spend a lot of time together. The team built a strong sense of camaraderie. Their camaraderie was evident in their teamwork. The trip helped foster camaraderie among the group. 53. Candor, the quality of being open and honest. She appreciated his candor during the interview. His candor about the situation was refreshing. They valued her candor in discussing the issues. 54. Capitulate, to cease to resist an opponent, to surrender. The rebels were forced to capitulate to the army. He refused to capitulate under pressure. They capitulated after realizing they were outnumbered. 55. Carouse, to drink plentiful amounts of alcohol and enjoy oneself with others in a noisy, lively way. They would carouse in the pub every Friday night. The sailors went ashore to carouse after months at sea. They loved to carouse and make merry at the festival. 56. Carp, to complain or find fault continually, typically about trivial matters. She would carp about the smallest inconveniences. He tended to carp at every little mistake. They carp about the weather despite the perfect day. 57. Caucus, a meeting of supporters or members of a specific political party or movement. The party caucus was held to discuss the upcoming election. They formed a caucus to address environmental issues. The leaders held a caucus to strategize their next move. 58. Cavort, to jump or dance around excitedly. The children would cavort in the playground all day. They cavorted in the fields, full of joy and energy. The actors cavorted on stage during the performance. 59. Circumlocution, the use of many words where fewer would do, especially in a deliberate attempt to be vague or evasive. His circumlocution made the speech hard to follow. She used circumlocution to avoid giving a direct answer. The report was filled with unnecessary circumlocution. 60. Circumscribe, to restrict something within limits. The laws would circumscribe the power of the government. They tried to circumscribe his influence in the company. Her role was circumscribed by strict regulations. 61. Circumvent, to find a way around an obstacle. They tried to circumvent the security measures. He circumvented the issue by finding a loophole. She managed to circumvent the rules with clever tactics. 62. Clamor, a loud and confused noise, especially that of people shouting vehemently. The clamor of the crowd was deafening. They raised a clamor for the leader's resignation. The clamor in the market made it hard to hear. 63. Cleave, to split or sever something, especially along a natural line or grain. He used an axe to cleave the log into pieces. The sword could cleave the armor with ease. They watched the ice cleave from the glacier. 64. Cobbler, a person who makes or repairs shoes. The cobbler fixed my favorite pair of boots. She visited the cobbler to get her shoes repaired. The cobbler's shop was filled with leather and tools. 65. Cogent, clear, logical, and convincing. His argument was cogent and well supported. She presented a cogent case to the jury. The report provided cogent reasons for the changes. 66. Cognizant, having knowledge or being aware of. He was cognizant of the challenges ahead. She remained cognizant of the risks involved. They were cognizant of the need for improvement. 67. Commensurate, corresponding in size or degree, proportionate. The pay was commensurate with the work done. Her rewards were commensurate with her efforts. The benefits should be commensurate with the costs. 68. Complement, to complete or enhance by providing something additional. The wine perfectly complements the cheese. Her skills complement his perfectly. The colors complement each other beautifully. 69. Compunction, a feeling of guilt or moral scruple that prevents or follows the doing of something bad. He felt no compunction about his harsh words. She showed compunction for her mistake. They acted without compunction, regretting nothing. 70. Concomitant, naturally accompanying or associated. The drug side effects were concomitant with its benefits. His success brought concomitant challenges. The new policy had concomitant advantages and drawbacks. 71. Conduit, a channel for conveying water or other fluid. The pipe serves as a conduit for water. The information flowed through the conduit quickly. They used the conduit to transport the data securely. 72. Conflagration, an extensive fire that destroys a great deal of land or property. The conflagration destroyed the entire forest. The city was engulfed in a massive conflagration. They worked to prevent the conflagration from spreading. 73. Congruity, the state of being in harmony or agreement. The congruity of their opinions led to quick decisions. The design's congruity with the brand was impressive. There was a striking congruity between their stories. 74. Connive, to secretly allow something considered immoral or illegal to occur. They connived to cheat during the exam. He connived with his colleagues to steal from the firm. The guards were suspected to connive with the inmates. 75. Consign, to deliver something to someone's custody. She decided to consign the old furniture to storage. They consigned their products to various retailers. He consigned the letter to the post office with care. 76. Constituent, being a part of a whole, a component. Water is a major constituent of the human body. The constituent parts were assembled with precision. Each constituent has a voice in the council meetings. 77. Construe, to interpret a word or action in a particular way. She tried to construe his silence as agreement. The comment was construed as an insult by many. They construed the law to support their argument. 78. Contentious, causing or likely to cause an argument. Controversial, the topic was too contentious to be discussed calmly. His contentious speech sparked heated debates. They avoided contentious subjects at family gatherings. 79. Contravene, to violate a law, treaty, or code of conduct. The company was fined for contravening safety regulations. His actions contravened the agreement they had signed. They contravened the policy, leading to consequences. 80. Contrite, feeling or expressing remorse or penitence. She felt contrite after her harsh words. He was contrite and apologized for his mistakes. The contrite offender sought forgiveness earnestly. 81. Contusion, a region of injured tissue or skin where blood capillaries have been ruptured. A bruise. He suffered a contusion on his arm from the fall. The player was benched due to a severe contusion. Her leg had a large contusion after the accident. 82. Convivial, friendly, lively, and enjoyable. The convivial atmosphere made the party unforgettable. They enjoyed a convivial dinner with friends. Her convivial nature made her the perfect hostess. 83. Corpulence, the state of being fat, obesity. His corpulence was a result of years of poor diet. She struggled with corpulence despite regular exercise. The doctor advised him to reduce his corpulence. 84. Covet, to yearn to possess or have. He coveted his neighbor's new car enviously. She always coveted the latest fashion trends. They were taught not to covet material possessions. 85. Cupidity, greed for money or possessions. His cupidity led him to unethical business practices. The tale warned of the dangers of unchecked cupidity. Her cupidity drove her to amass great wealth. 86. Dearth, a scarcity or lack of something. There was a dearth of fresh water in the village. The dearth of evidence weakened the case. They faced a dearth of food during the drought. 87. Debacle, a sudden and ignominious failure. The company's collapse was a financial debacle. The play's opening night was a total debacle. His speech turned into a debacle due to technical issues. 88. Debauch, to destroy or debase the moral purity of. Corrupt, the film showed his gradual debauch into crime. They debauched the town with their wild behavior. Her influence led to his moral debauch. 89. Debunk, to expose the falseness or hollowness of a myth, idea, or belief. The scientist worked to debunk the popular myth. She debunked the rumors with solid evidence. They aimed to debunk the fraudulent scheme. 90. Defunct, no longer existing or functioning. The old factory was defunct and falling apart. The defunct technology was replaced by modern devices. He discovered the defunct policies still in the handbook. 91. Demagogue, a political leader who seeks support by appealing to popular desires and prejudices rather than by using rational argument. The demagogue stirred the crowd with his fiery speech. He was accused of being a demagogue by his opponents. The demagogue's tactics led to widespread unrest. 92. Denigrate, to criticize unfairly, disparage. She did not want to denigrate his achievements. They attempted to denigrate her reputation with lies. He felt they were trying to denigrate his hard work. 93. Derivative, imitative of the work of another person, and usually disapproved of for that reason. The novel was criticized for being too derivative. Her art was seen as derivative of earlier styles. They wanted something original, not derivative work. 94. Despot, a ruler who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way. The despot ruled with an iron fist, allowing no dissent. He was feared as a despot who tolerated no opposition. The despot's reign was marked by terror and cruelty. 95. Diaphanous, light, delicate, and translucent. The diaphanous curtains let in the soft morning light. She wore a diaphanous dress that flowed with the breeze. The artist loved the diaphanous quality of the fabric. 96. Didactic, intended to teach, particularly in having moral instruction as an ulterior motive. His didactic tone made the lecture boring. She appreciated the didactic nature of the lesson. The book was didactic, but also entertaining. 97. Dirge, a lament for the dead, especially one forming part of a funeral rite. The band played a solemn dirge at the funeral. Her voice carried the dirge across the silent crowd. The dirge evoked deep emotions in everyone present. 98. Disaffected, dissatisfied with the people in authority and no longer willing to support them, the disaffected workers went on strike for better conditions. He felt disaffected by the company's unfair policies. The youth became disaffected with the government. 99. Discomfort, to make someone feel uneasy or embarrassed. Her unexpected question seemed to discomfort him. He was discomfited by the sudden change in plans. The interviewer's tone was meant to discomfort the guest. 100. Disparate, essentially different in kind, not allowing comparison. The cultures were disparate, each unique in its own way. His tastes were so disparate that it was hard to predict. Their ideas were disparate, leading to many debates. Dispel, to make a doubt, feeling, or belief disappear. She tried to dispel the rumors with clear evidence. He managed to dispel her fears with comforting words. They worked hard to dispel the myth surrounding the issue. Disrepute, the state of being held in low esteem by the public. The scandal brought the company into disrepute. His actions caused his family to fall into disrepute. The athlete's misconduct led to disrepute in his career. Divisive, tending to cause disagreement or hostility between people. The politician's speech was deeply divisive. Her comments were divisive, splitting the team apart. The issue remained divisive among the members. Dogmatic, inclined to lay down principles as incontrovertibly true. His dogmatic approach made him difficult to work with. She was dogmatic in her beliefs, never open to change. They found his dogmatic statements hard to accept. Dour, relentlessly severe, stern, or gloomy in manner or appearance. The teacher's dour expression frightened the students. He had a dour demeanor that rarely showed joy. The weather was as dour as his mood that day. Duplicity, deceitfulness, double-dealing. She was fired for her duplicity in handling the accounts. His duplicity was revealed in the investigation. They couldn't trust him because of his duplicity. Duress, threats, violence, constraints, or other action used to coerce someone. He signed the contract under duress. They claimed they acted under duress during the incident. She confessed to the crime under duress. Ebullient, cheerful and full of energy. Her ebullient personality made her popular at parties. He was ebullient after winning the competition. Their ebullient mood was infectious, spreading joy. Eclectic, deriving ideas, style, or taste from a broad and diverse range of sources. Her style was eclectic, mixing modern with vintage. He had an eclectic taste in music, enjoying all genres. The decor was eclectic, featuring items from around the world. Edict, an official order or proclamation issued by an authority. The king issued an edict banning all protests. The new edict required everyone to wear masks. They celebrated the repeal of the oppressive edict. Egregious, outstandingly bad, shocking. His egregious error cost the team the championship. The company's egregious violations led to heavy fines. Her egregious behavior shocked everyone at the event. Elegy, a poem of serious reflection, typically a lament for the dead. She wrote an elegy for her late grandmother. The elegy moved everyone to tears at the funeral. His elegy captured the deep sorrow of the moment. Elicit, to draw out a response, answer, or fact from someone. The teacher's question managed to elicit a strong response. He tried to elicit the truth from the witnesses. The survey was designed to elicit honest feedback. Embezzlement, theft or misappropriation of funds placed in one's trust. The CFO was arrested for embezzlement of company funds. They discovered the embezzlement after a thorough audit. His embezzlement scandal shocked the entire community. Emend, to make corrections or improvements to a text, she was asked to amend the draft before publication. He worked tirelessly to amend the errors in the report. They decided to amend the document to clarify the rules. Emollient, having the quality of softening or soothing the skin, she used an emollient cream for her dry hands. The lotion's emollient properties were very effective. They marketed the soap for its emollient benefits. Empirical, based on observation or experience rather than theory or pure logic, the study provided empirical evidence for the theory. He relied on empirical data to support his hypothesis. Their approach was empirical, focusing on real-world results. Emulate, to match or surpass, a person or achievement, typically by imitation, she tried to emulate her mentor's success. He hoped to emulate his brother's achievements. They admired her ability to emulate the great artists. Enervate, to cause someone to feel drained of energy, the long journey began to enervate the travelers. The heat served to enervate everyone in the room. His exhausting job seemed to enervate him completely. Enfranchise, to give the right to vote, the law aimed to enfranchise all citizens equally. She fought to enfranchise women in her community. They worked to enfranchise more marginalized groups. Engender, to cause or give rise to, his actions would only engender more conflict. The new policies could engender significant changes. Their kindness helped engender a sense of community. Ephemeral, lasting for a very short time, the beauty of the sunset was ephemeral but stunning. Her happiness was ephemeral, quickly replaced by worry. The flower's ephemeral bloom was a sight to behold. Epistolary, relating to the writing of letters, the novel was written in an epistolary format. Their epistolary correspondence lasted for years. She loved the charm of epistolary friendships. Equanimity, mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, he maintained his equanimity despite the chaos around him. She faced the challenge with admirable equanimity. Their equanimity in crisis was truly remarkable. Equivocal, open to more than one interpretation, ambiguous, his equivocal answer left everyone confused. The results of the study were somewhat equivocal. She gave an equivocal reply, not revealing her true thoughts. Espouse, to adopt or support a cause, belief, or way of life, they espoused the values of equality in justice. He chose to espouse a minimalist lifestyle. She espoused the importance of environmental awareness. Vanescent, quickly fading or disappearing, the evanescent rainbow vanished within minutes. Her joy was as evanescent as the morning dew. The evanescent mist lifted as the sun rose. Evince, to reveal the presence of a quality or feeling, he evinced no fear despite the danger. Her smile evinced genuine happiness. The data evinces a clear trend over time. Exacerbate, to make a problem, bad situation, or negative feeling worse, his comments only serve to exacerbate the argument. The cold weather can exacerbate her symptoms. Stress will only exacerbate your condition. Execrable, extremely bad or unpleasant, the movie was execrable, not worth watching at all. His behavior at the party was absolutely execrable. The food at the restaurant was execrable and tasteless. Exhort, to strongly encourage or urge someone to do something, he tried to exhort his teammates to win the game. She would often exhort her friends to follow their dreams. The coach exhorted the players to give their best. Exigent, pressing, demanding, the exigent demands of the job exhausted him. They faced an exigent situation requiring immediate action. The exigent needs of the patient were addressed first. 133, expedient, convenient and practical, although possibly improper or immoral, they chose the most expedient method to solve the problem. His decision was expedient but not ethical. It was an expedient solution, albeit a temporary one. 134, expiate, to atone for guilt or sin, he tried to expiate his sins through good deeds. She sought to expiate her guilt by volunteering. They believed charitable acts would expiate their wrongs. 135, expunge, to erase or remove completely. She wanted to expunge the memory from her mind. They tried to expunge all records of the incident. His name was expunged from the official documents. 136. Expurgate. To remove matter thought to be objectionable or unsuitable, the book was expurgated to be suitable for children. They decided to expurgate the offensive scenes. His speech was expurgated before being published. 137. Extant. Still in existence, surviving. The oldest extant manuscript is housed in the museum. Many species are extant despite the harsh conditions. They found extant copies of the ancient text. 138. Extol. To praise enthusiastically, he would often extol the virtues of his hometown. The teacher extolled the student's efforts. They extolled her bravery in the face of danger. 139. Extraneous. Irrelevant or unrelated to the subject being dealt with, she removed all extraneous information from the report. His speech included too much extraneous detail. The editor cut out the extraneous paragraphs. 140. Fallacious. Based on a mistaken belief, his argument was fallacious and easily disproven. The theory was dismissed as fallacious by experts. She relied on fallacious assumptions in her reasoning. 141. Fatuous. Silly and pointless. His fatuous remarks irritated everyone at the meeting. She laughed at his fatuous attempts to impress her. The plan was dismissed as fatuous and impractical. 142. Fetter. To restrict or restrain someone, in an unfair or undesirable fashion, the regulations fetter the company's growth. He felt fettered by the rigid rules of the institution. They sought to fetter the movement of the opposition. 143. Flagrant. Conspicuously or obviously offensive, the referee ignored the flagrant foul committed by the player. His flagrant disregard for the rules angered everyone. The violation was too flagrant to be overlooked. 144. Foil. To prevent something considered wrong or undesirable from succeeding, the hero's quick thinking foiled the villain's plot. She managed to foil their attempts to cheat. They foiled the robbery with the help of the police. 145. Forbearance. Patient self-control, restraint and tolerance. Her forbearance in the face of criticism was admirable. He showed great forbearance dealing with his annoying neighbor. Their forbearance during the crisis helped maintain peace. 146. Fortuitous. Happening by accident or chance rather than design, their meeting was fortuitous and led to a great partnership. She enjoyed a fortuitous discovery while hiking. The timing of his arrival was fortuitous for the event. 147. Fractious, irritable and quarrelsome. The fractious child caused trouble in the classroom. His fractious behavior disrupted the meeting. They found the fractious cat difficult to manage. 148. Garrulous. Excessively talkative, especially on trivial matters, her garrulous nature made her popular at social gatherings. He became garrulous after a few drinks at the party. The garrulous neighbor often kept them up at night. 149. Gourmand. A person who enjoys eating and often eats too much, the gourmand savored every dish at the banquet. He considered himself a gourmand, always seeking new flavors. The chef's skills delighted the discerning gourmand. 150. Grandiloquent. Pompous or extravagant in language, style, or manner, especially in a way that is intended to impress, his grandiloquent speech failed to impress the audience. She avoided his grandiloquent style of conversation. The politician's grandiloquent promises were met with skepticism. 151. Gratuitous, uncalled for, lacking good reason, unwarranted, the film was criticized for its gratuitous violence. His gratuitous advice was not appreciated by his friends. She ignored his gratuitous comments and moved on. 152. Hapless, unfortunate. The hapless traveler lost all his belongings on the trip. Her hapless attempts at cooking always ended in disaster. They felt sorry for the hapless victims of the accident. 153. Hegemony, leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over others. The the country sought to establish hegemony over its neighbors. They resisted the cultural hegemony imposed by the powerful nation. The hegemony of the corporation stifled local businesses. 154. Heterogeneous, diverse in character or content, the city's population was a heterogeneous mix of cultures. She enjoyed the heterogeneous assortment of books in the library. Their heterogeneous interests made the group dynamic and lively. 155. Iconoclast, a person who attacks cherished beliefs or institutions. The artist was an iconoclast, rejecting traditional styles. She was seen as an iconoclast for her unconventional ideas. His iconoclastic views challenged the status quo. 156. Idiosyncratic, peculiar or individual, her idiosyncratic habits made her endearing to friends. He had an idiosyncratic way of solving problems. Their idiosyncratic style set them apart from others. 157. Impecunious, having little or no money, the impecunious student worked 2 jobs to pay tuition. His impecunious lifestyle taught him valuable lessons. They provided aid to the impecunious families. 158. Impetuous, acting or done quickly and without thought or care, his impetuous decisions often led to trouble. She made an impetuous purchase that she later regretted. The impetuous child ran into the street without looking. 159. Impinge, to have an effect, especially a negative one, his strict rules began to impinge on their freedom. The noise from the construction site impinged on her sleep. They didn't want to impinge on her time with questions. 160. Impute, to attribute something, especially something bad, to someone. They imputed the mistake to his inexperience. She tried to impute her failure to bad luck. He was unfairly imputed with the blame for the error. 161. Inane, silly, stupid, his inane jokes annoyed everyone at the party. She dismissed the conversation as inane and pointless. The film was full of inane humor that fell flat. 162. Inchoate, just begun and so not fully formed or developed, the inchoate plan needed more detail and thought. His inchoate ideas were difficult to implement. They abandoned the inchoate project early on. 163. Incontrovertible, not able to be denied or disputed, the evidence was incontrovertible and sealed the case. She presented incontrovertible proof of his guilt. Their findings were incontrovertible, leaving no doubt. 164. Incumbent, necessary for someone, as a duty or responsibility, it is incumbent upon you to finish the report on time. The incumbent president faced a tough re-election battle. He felt it incumbent to help those less fortunate. 165. Inexorable, impossible to stop or prevent, the inexorable march of time affects us all. She faced the inexorable rise of costs with concern. Their progress was inexorable, moving steadily forward. 166. Inimical, tending to obstruct or harm, the policy changes were inimical to the business's growth. His actions were inimical to the group's harmony. The environment was inimical to their health. 167. Injunction, an authoritative warning or order, the court issued an injunction against the protest. She received an injunction to stop the construction. They complied with the injunction immediately. 168. Inoculate, to introduce a vaccine into the body to produce immunity, the doctor will inoculate the children against the flu. They lined up to inoculate their pets against rabies. She was inoculated as part of the school's health program. 169. Insidious, proceeding in a gradual, subtle way, but with harmful effects, the disease had an insidious onset, unnoticed at first. His insidious influence began to corrupt the team. The plan was insidious, hidden behind good intentions. 170. Instigate, to bring about or initiate, the leader sought to instigate change within the organization. She was accused of trying to instigate the rebellion. They instigated a debate on a controversial issue. 171. Insurgent, rising in active revolt, the government struggled to suppress the insurgent forces. The insurgent group gained control of the capital. They declared the insurgent leaders as enemies of the state. 172. Interlocutor, a person who takes part in a dialogue or conversation. The interlocutor asked probing questions during the discussion. She acted as an interlocutor between the two parties. His role as an interlocutor helped ease tensions. 173. Intimation, an indication or hint. His silence was seen as an intimation of disapproval. She gave no intimation of her plans for the future. The first intimation of trouble came with the phone call. 174. Intransigent, unwilling to change one's views or to agree about something. The intransigent stance of both parties led to a deadlock. She remained intransigent despite their pleas for compromise. His intransigent attitude made negotiations difficult. 175. Inure, to accustom someone to something, especially something unpleasant. They became inured to the constant noise of the city. He was inured to hardship after years of struggle. The soldiers were inured to the harsh conditions. 176. Invective, insulting, abusive, or highly critical language. The article was filled with invective against the politician. He hurled invective at anyone who disagreed with him. Their argument descended into a stream of invective. 177. Inveterate, having a particular habit, activity, or interest that is long established and unlikely to change. She was an inveterate reader, always with a book in hand. His inveterate habits made him a predictable person. They were inveterate travelers, exploring every continent. 178. Irreverence, a lack of respect for people or things that are generally taken seriously. His irreverence towards authority often got him in trouble. The comedian's irreverence amused the younger audience. She admired his irreverence for outdated traditions. 179. Knell, the sound of a bell, especially when rung solemnly for a death or funeral. The knell echoed through the village, signaling the end. The mournful knell marked the somber occasion. They heard the knell as they gathered at the cemetery. 180. Laconic, using very few words. His laconic reply left everyone in suspense. She was known for her laconic yet impactful speeches. The laconic message conveyed a lot with few words. 181. Largesse, generosity in bestowing money or gifts upon others. The philanthropist's largesse funded many scholarships. His largesse was appreciated by the struggling artists. They were grateful for the largesse of the community. 182. Legerdemain, skillful use of one's hands when performing conjuring tricks. His legerdemain amazed the audience at the magic show. She was adept at legerdemain, making objects disappear. The magician's legerdemain was flawless and deceptive. 183. Libertarian, a person who believes in the doctrine of free will and minimal government intervention. He identified as a libertarian, advocating for personal freedom. The Libertarian Party pushed for fewer regulations. She supported libertarian principles in her policies. 184. Licentious, promiscuous and unprincipled in sexual matters. The novel was criticized for its licentious content. He led a licentious lifestyle, ignoring social norms. Their licentious behavior shocked the conservative town. 185. Linchpin, a person or thing vital to an enterprise or organization. She was the linchpin of the team, holding everything together. His role as a linchpin was crucial for the project's success. The manager was the linchpin in maintaining office morale. 186. Litigant, a person involved in a lawsuit. The litigant hoped for a favorable outcome in court. She was a reluctant litigant in the long legal battle. The litigant presented his case with determination. 187. Maelstrom, a powerful whirlpool in the sea or a river, or a situation/state of confused movement or turmoil. The ship was caught in a maelstrom during the storm. His emotions were a maelstrom of conflicting feelings. The maelstrom of events left everyone in confusion. 188. Maudlin, self-pityingly or tearfully sentimental. The film was criticized for its maudlin sentimentality. He became maudlin after a few drinks, reminiscing sadly. Her maudlin speech brought tears to the audience. 189. Maverick, an unorthodox or independent-minded person, the maverick scientist challenged established theories. She was known as a maverick in the business world. His maverick ideas led to groundbreaking innovations. 190. Mawkish, sentimental in a feeble or sickly way, the novel was dismissed as overly mawkish and trite. His mawkish performance was not well received by critics. They found the play's ending mawkish and predictable. 191. Maxim, a short, pithy statement expressing a general truth or rule of conduct. She lived by the maxim, honesty is the best policy. His father's favorite maxim was, time is money. The maxim, actions speak louder than words, resonated with him. 192. Mendacious, not telling the truth, lying. The mendacious report was full of false information. She was known for her mendacious tales and stories. His mendacious nature made him untrustworthy. 193. Modicum, a small quantity of a particular thing. He only needed a modicum of courage to speak up. They showed a modicum of respect for their opponents. The recipe called for a modicum of salt, not too much. 194. Morass, an area of muddy or boggy ground, a complicated or confused situation. They were stuck in a morass of legal troubles. The project turned into a morass of conflicting ideas. The hikers got lost in the morass, struggling to find a way out. 195. Mores, the essential or characteristic customs and conventions of a community. The mores of the society dictated strict behavior rules. His actions went against the mores of the community. They studied the mores of different cultures. 196. Multifarious, many and of various types. She had a multifarious collection of art from around the world. His multifarious talents made him a valuable employee. The multifarious options made it hard to choose. 197. Munificent, more generous than is usual or necessary. The munificent donation helped build the new library. She received a munificent gift from her grateful students. His munificent nature made him popular in the community. 198. Nadir, the lowest point in the fortunes of a person or organization. The company's nadir came during the economic crisis. He reached the nadir of his career after the scandal. Their relationship hit its nadir after the argument. 199. Negligent, failing to take proper care in doing something. The doctor was found negligent in his duties. She was negligent in completing her assignments on time. They faced penalties for being negligent with safety protocols. Neophyte, a person who is new to a subject, skill, or belief. As a neophyte in cooking, he needed lots of practice. She was a neophyte in the business world, eager to learn. They hired a neophyte but with great potential. Noisome, having an extremely offensive smell, the noisome garbage needed to be removed immediately. The noisome fumes from the factory made it hard to breathe. The noisome odor from the trash can was unbearable. Noxious, harmful, poisonous, or very unpleasant, the noxious chemicals were banned from use. His speech was filled with noxious and harmful ideas. They evacuated the building due to noxious gas leakage. Obdurate, stubbornly refusing to change one's opinion or course of action. Despite the evidence, he remained obdurate in his views. She was obdurate in her decision to leave the company. His obdurate stance caused a stalemate in negotiations. Obfuscate, to render obscure, unclear, or unintelligible, the politician's answer seemed to obfuscate the issue. She used technical jargon to obfuscate her real intentions. His explanation only served to obfuscate the facts. Obstreperous, noisy and difficult to control, the obstreperous crowd disrupted the event. His obstreperous behavior got him kicked out of the class. The obstreperous children made the babysitter's job hard. Officious, assertive of authority in an annoyingly domineering way, the officious manager micromanaged every task. She found his officious manner irritating and unhelpful. The officious security guard was overly zealous. Onerous, involving a great deal of effort, trouble, or difficulty, the onerous task took all day to complete. His job was onerous but necessary for the project. They found the contract's terms to be onerous and unfair. Ostensible, stated or appearing to be true, but not necessarily so, the ostensible reason for the meeting was to discuss policy. His ostensible friendliness masked his true intentions. She provided ostensible explanations for her actions. Ostracism, exclusion from a society or group, he faced ostracism from the community after the incident. They used ostracism as a punishment for breaking the rules. Her opinions led to her ostracism by the group. Palliate, to make a disease or its symptoms less severe, the medication helped to palliate her pain. His efforts did little to palliate the underlying issue. They sought to palliate the effects of the disaster. Panacea, a solution or remedy for all difficulties or diseases, they hoped the new policy would be a panacea for the problems. There is no panacea for the challenges of life. The diet was marketed as a panacea for all health issues. Paradigm, a typical example or pattern of something, her success set a new paradigm for aspiring writers. The company is seen as a paradigm of innovation. His approach became a paradigm for effective teaching. Pariah, an outcast, he felt like a pariah in his new school. The scandal turned her into a social pariah. They treated him like a pariah after the incident. Partisan, a strong supporter of a party, cause, or person, he was a partisan of the environmental movement. Her partisan views often led to heated debates. They remained partisan in their loyalty to the leader. Paucity, the presence of something in only small or insufficient quantities, there was a paucity of resources available for the project. The study was criticized for its paucity of data. They faced a paucity of options in their decision-making. Pejorative, expressing contempt or disapproval, his comments were pejorative and hurtful. She used a pejorative term to describe the proposal. The article was full of pejorative language. Pellucid, transparently clear, the pellucid water of the lake was inviting. Her explanation was pellucid, making the concept easy to grasp. The prose was pellucid, with no room for misunderstanding. Penchant, a strong or habitual liking for something or tendency to do something, she has a penchant for collecting antique jewelry. His penchant for adventure often led him to exotic places. They noticed his penchant for making quick decisions. Penurious, extremely poor, poverty-stricken, the penurious family struggled to make ends meet. His penurious lifestyle was a result of poor investments. They offered help to the penurious villagers. Pernicious, having a harmful effect, especially in a gradual or subtle way, the pernicious rumor spread quickly through the school. She warned of the pernicious effects of smoking. His pernicious influence led them down a dark path. Pert, attractively lively or cheeky, her pert attitude made her stand out in the interview. He admired her pert response to the challenging question. The pert comments kept the conversation lively. Pertinacious, holding firmly to an opinion or a course of action, her pertinacious nature helped her achieve her goals. He remained pertinacious despite the challenges. They were pertinacious in their pursuit of justice. Philanthropic, seeking to promote the welfare of others, the philanthropic organization donated millions to charity. Her philanthropic efforts were recognized worldwide. They engaged in philanthropic activities every year. Phlegmatic, having an unemotional and stolidly calm disposition, his phlegmatic response surprised everyone during the crisis. She remained phlegmatic despite the chaos around her. The phlegmatic demeanor of the leader inspired confidence. Pithy, concise and forcefully expressive, his pithy remarks captured everyone's attention. She delivered a pithy speech that left a lasting impression. The memo was pithy and to the point. Platitude, a remark or statement, especially one with a moral content, that has been used too often to be interesting or thoughtful. His speech was filled with clichés and platitudes. She dismissed his advice as mere platitude. The book offered little more than platitudes. Plaudit, praise, the performance received plaudits from all critics. She earned plaudits for her groundbreaking research. They gave him plaudits for his leadership. Plenitude, an abundance, the garden was filled with a plenitude of flowers. They enjoyed a plenitude of resources for the project. The report showed a plenitude of information. Plethora, a large or excessive amount of something, the market had a plethora of fresh fruits. She had a plethora of ideas for the new project. They received a plethora of compliments for their work. Portent, a sign or warning that something momentous or calamitous is likely to happen. The dark clouds were a portent of the coming storm. His strange behavior was a portent of trouble ahead. They saw the comet as a portent of significant events. Potentate, a monarch or ruler, especially an autocratic one, the potentate ruled the kingdom with absolute power. She met with the potentate to discuss diplomatic issues. The potentate's decisions affected the entire nation. Preclude, to prevent from happening, make impossible, his injury will preclude him from participating in the game. The contract terms preclude any further negotiations. They hope to preclude any misunderstandings by being clear. Predilection, a preference or special liking for something, she has a predilection for classical music. His predilection for spicy food was well known. They showed a predilection for outdoor activities. Preponderance, the quality or fact of being greater in number, quantity, or importance, there was a preponderance of evidence against him. The preponderance of men in the industry was notable. They noted the preponderance of positive feedback. Presage, a sign or warning that something, typically something bad, will happen. The sudden silence seemed to presage trouble. Her dreams often presage important events. The economic indicators presage a recession. Probity, the quality of having strong moral principles, honesty and decency. His probity was beyond question, earning him respect. She was known for her probity and fairness. They admired his probity in handling the situation. Proclivity, a tendency to choose or do something regularly, an inclination or predisposition. She has a proclivity for solving complex puzzles. His proclivity for late-night work was well known. They noticed her proclivity for helping others. Profligate, recklessly extravagant or wasteful in the use of resources, his profligate spending led to financial ruin. She criticized their profligate use of natural resources. The profligate lifestyle of the celebrity was widely covered. Promulgate, to promote or make widely known, an idea or cause. The government will promulgate new regulations soon. She helped to promulgate the new health guidelines. They used social media to promulgate their message. Proscribe, to forbid, especially by law. the law will proscribe any form of discrimination. The dictator sought to proscribe all opposition parties. They moved to proscribe harmful substances in schools. Protean, tending or able to change frequently or easily, his protean talent impressed everyone in the industry. The protean nature of the project required flexibility. She had a protean ability to adapt to new situations. Prurient, having or encouraging an excessive interest in sexual matters, the novel was criticized for its prurient content. He was known for his prurient curiosity about scandals. The prurient gossip spread quickly through the office. Puerile, childishly silly and trivial, his puerile jokes were not appreciated by the group. She dismissed his comments as puerile and immature. The argument was filled with puerile accusations. Pugnacious, eager or quick to argue, quarrel, or fight, his pugnacious attitude often led to conflicts. She became pugnacious when her ideas were challenged. The pugnacious student frequently got into fights. Pulchritude, beauty, her pulchritude was admired by everyone she met. The artist captured the pulchritude of nature in his work. They marveled at the pulchritude of the landscape. Punctilious, showing great attention to detail or correct behavior, she was punctilious about following the protocol. His punctilious nature made him an excellent editor. They appreciated his punctilious attention to detail. Quaint, attractively unusual or old-fashioned, the quaint village attracted many tourists. She loved the quaint charm of the old bookstore. His house was filled with quaint furniture and decor. Quandary, a state of perplexity or uncertainty over what to do in a difficult situation. She found herself in a quandary about which job offer to accept. The unexpected news left him in a quandary. They were in a quandary over how to resolve the issue. Quixotic, exceedingly idealistic, unrealistic and impractical, his quixotic plans for the future often amused his friends. She embarked on a quixotic quest to save the world. His quixotic vision ignored the practical challenges. Recalcitrant, having an obstinately uncooperative attitude towards authority or discipline, the recalcitrant student refused to follow the rules. She struggled with the recalcitrant dog during training. His recalcitrant behavior led to several confrontations. Redoubtable, formidable, especially as an opponent, the team faced a redoubtable opponent in the finals. Her redoubtable reputation intimidated her rivals. He was known as a redoubtable figure in the industry. Relegate, to consign or dismiss to an inferior rank or position, they decided to relegate the old equipment to storage. She was relegated to a minor role in the new project. The manager relegated him to less critical tasks. Remiss, lacking care or attention to duty, negligent, he was remiss in his duties, missing several deadlines. She admitted to being remiss in her responsibilities. Their remiss behavior caused significant delays. Reprieve, a cancellation or postponement of a punishment, the governor granted a reprieve to the condemned man. The holiday provided a brief reprieve from work. They hoped for a reprieve from the harsh weather. Reprobate, an unprincipled person, the old reprobate was known for his mischievous deeds. She tried to reform the young reprobate through guidance. His reputation as a reprobate preceded him. Requisition, an official order laying claim to the use of property or materials, they submitted a requisition for new office supplies. The Army issued a requisition for additional equipment. She filled out a requisition for the necessary materials. 257 Rescind, to revoke, cancel, or repeal. The company decided to rescind the outdated policy. He was forced to rescind his earlier statements. They moved to rescind the agreement after the dispute. 258 Rife, of common occurrence, widespread, rumors were rife about the company's bankruptcy. Corruption was rife in the administration. The streets were rife with stories of the old legend. 259 Sanctimonious, making a show of being morally superior to others, his sanctimonious tone irritated everyone in the room. She delivered a sanctimonious lecture on ethics. They found his sanctimonious remarks hypocritical. 260 Sanguine, optimistic or positive, especially in a bad situation, despite the challenges, she remained sanguine about the future. His sanguine outlook helped lift everyone's spirits. They were sanguine that things would improve soon. (261) Scurrilous, making or spreading scandalous claims about someone with the intention of damaging their reputation. The magazine published scurrilous gossip about celebrities. His scurrilous comments led to a lawsuit. She was fired for her scurrilous behavior at work. 262 Semaphore, a system of sending messages by holding the arms or two flags or poles in certain positions according to an alphabetic code. The sailors used semaphore to communicate across the deck. They taught the scouts how to use semaphore signals. He sent a semaphore message from the tower. 263 Serendipity, the occurrence of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. Finding that book was pure serendipity. Their meeting was a moment of serendipity. She considered their friendship a result of serendipity. 264 Sobriety, the state of being sober. He struggled to maintain sobriety after rehab. Her sobriety was a testament to her willpower. They celebrated his 1 year of sobriety together. 265 Solicitous, showing interest or concern. Her solicitous nature made her a great caregiver. He was always solicitous about his students' well-being. They appreciated her solicitous attention to detail. 266 Solipsism, the view or theory that the self is all that can be known to exist. His philosophy leaned towards solipsism, focusing on the self. She found his solipsism difficult to understand. They debated the merits of solipsism in class. 267 Spurious, not being what it purports to be, false or fake. The scientist debunked the spurious claims made in the article. His spurious arguments were easily dismissed. They discovered the documents were spurious. 268 Staid, sedate, respectable, and unadventurous. The staid professor rarely showed emotion in class. Her staid appearance belied a lively personality. They lived in a staid neighborhood with strict rules. 269 Stolid, calm, dependable, and showing little emotion or animation. His stolid expression gave away nothing during the debate. She remained stolid, even in the face of great stress. The stolid guard stood watch without a word. 270 Subjugate, to bring under domination or control. The empire sought to subjugate its neighboring territories. They aimed to subjugate the rebels with force. She refused to let fear subjugate her will. 271 Surfeit, an excessive amount of something. There was a surfeit of food left after the party. His surfeit of enthusiasm was contagious. They suffered from a surfeit of options, unable to decide. 272 Surreptitious, kept secret, especially because it would not be approved of. they exchanged surreptitious glances during the meeting. His surreptitious actions were soon discovered. She took a surreptitious look at the confidential documents. 273 Swarthy, dark-skinned, the swarthy sailor had a weather-beaten face. His swarthy complexion stood out in the crowd. The swarthy man smiled warmly at the children. 274 Tangential, relating to or along a tangent, diverging from a previous course, his comments were tangential to the main topic. She went on a tangential rant about unrelated issues. The discussion often became tangential and unfocused. 275 Tirade, a long, angry speech of criticism or accusation, he launched into a tirade against the unfair rules. Her tirade left everyone in the room stunned. They were subjected to a tirade from their frustrated boss. 276 Toady, a person who behaves obsequiously to someone important, the toady agreed with everything his boss said. She tired of the toady's constant flattery. His toady behavior made him unpopular with colleagues. 277 Tome, a large, heavy book, he spent hours reading the ancient tome. She added another tome to her collection of classics. The professor referenced a thick tome in his lecture. 278 Torpid, mentally or physically inactive, lethargic, the heat made everyone feel torpid and sleepy. He felt torpid after the heavy meal. The torpid lizard basked in the sun. 279 Travesty, a false, absurd, or distorted representation of something, the trial was a travesty of justice. The play was a travesty of the original story. His apology was a mere travesty and insincere. 280 Trenchant, vigorous or incisive in expression or style, her trenchant critique left no room for improvement. He offered a trenchant analysis of the problem. The article was filled with trenchant observations. 281 Trite, overused and consequently of little import, lacking originality or freshness, his speech was full of trite phrases. She found the movie's plot trite and predictable. The essay was marked down for its trite content. .282, truculent, eager or quick to argue or fight, aggressively defiant, his truculent attitude made him unpopular. She became truculent when her authority was challenged. The truculent behavior of the protesters escalated. 283, turpitude, depraved or wicked behavior or character, the scandal revealed the turpitude of the politician. They were shocked by the turpitude of the crime. His acts of turpitude led to his downfall. 284, ubiquitous, present, appearing, or found everywhere, smartphones have become ubiquitous in modern life. The company's logo was ubiquitous in the city. She noticed the ubiquitous presence of coffee shops. 285, umbrage, offense or annoyance, he took umbrage at her sarcastic remarks. She felt umbrage at the unfair criticism. They were careful not to cause umbrage. 286, upbraid, to find fault with, someone, scold, she upbraided him for his carelessness. The teacher upbraided the students for not studying. He was upbraided by his boss for missing the deadline. 287, utilitarian, designed to be useful or practical rather than attractive, the building's design was utilitarian but ugly. She chose utilitarian furniture for her apartment. His approach was utilitarian, focusing on function. 288 veracity, conformity to facts, accuracy, the veracity of his statements was questioned. She doubted the veracity of the rumors. They trusted him for his veracity and honesty. 289, vestige, a trace of something that is disappearing or no longer exists. The ruins are the last vestige of the ancient city. He found a vestige of hope in her smile. The document had no vestige of the original text. 290. Vicissitude, a change of circumstances or fortune, typically one that is unwelcome or unpleasant. They remained friends through the vicissitudes of life. The company's fortunes changed with every vicissitude. His career had seen many vicissitudes over the years. 291. Vilify, to speak or write about in an abusively disparaging manner. The media tried to vilify the actor with false stories. She refused to vilify her opponent during the debate. They vilified him for his controversial views. 292. Virtuoso, a person highly skilled in music or another artistic pursuit. The pianist performed with the skill of a virtuoso. Her virtuoso painting amazed everyone. He became a virtuoso in coding within a few years. 293. Vitriolic, filled with bitter criticism or malice. The critic's review was vitriolic and harsh. His vitriolic comments hurt her deeply. She responded to the vitriolic attacks with grace. 294. Vituperate, to blame or insult someone, in strong or violent language. The coach began to vituperate the team after the loss. She couldn't stand his tendency to vituperate others. They were shocked by his vituperate outburst. 295. Vociferous, expressing feelings or opinions in a very loud or forceful way. The crowd was vociferous in their demands for change. She was a vociferous advocate for animal rights. His vociferous objections were heard by all. 296. Wanton, deliberate and unprovoked. The vandalism was a wanton act of destruction. His wanton disregard for the rules got him expelled. They condemned the wanton cruelty to animals. 297. Wily, skilled at gaining an advantage, especially deceitfully. The wily fox managed to escape the trap. She was wily in negotiating business deals. His wily tactics in the game led to victory. 298. Winsome, attractive or appealing in appearance or character. Her winsome smile charmed everyone in the room. The child's winsome nature made him loved by all. They were captivated by her winsome personality. 299. Yoke, to couple or attach with or to as if with a yoke. They yoked the oxen to the plow. She refused to be yoked to an unjust contract. The countries were yoked together by the treaty.